We're being told the country is on its way out of recession. We are in a period of growth. However, for many people in Medway, even putting food on the table is a daily struggle. Charities are needed to be put in place to help the 13 million people living below the poverty line in the UK. The Trussell Trust developed one of the UK's first social franchise network back in 2004 in response to the increased problem of Britain's hidden hunger. Ian Charles is the project manager of the Medway branch. He is responsible for coordinating the distribution of food from the warehouse and centres.
The Trussell Trust organisation is a Christian charity which started in Salisbury. Since then, they've opened over 400 food banks.
In 2013, 3,500 people were in need of support from food banks. In Medway alone, there are 6 distribution centres set up by Trussell Trust with 107 agencies that, like most food banks, give out vouchers. However, they have a different way to operate to other food banks.
The way that we operate, with a limitation on the number of times we help, 3 times in 6 months being the guideline.
Food bank clients may receive help, but it is for the short period of time while they wait for benefits.
There is no doubt that some of the demand that we have, a significant amount of the demand we have, has been because of government changes to the benefits system and the types of benefits and how they're claimed.
Some people are ashamed to be associated with benefits, such as Jane. Jane, as we were calling her for the purpose of this film, didn't want to be identified due to negative perceptions of benefit claims.
The food bank helped me with the food situation at the time. I only earn $320 a month. I've got 2 jobs, but they're very part-time, and I can't work any more hours because of my illness.
Jane needed help as she could not work for long hours due to long-term mental health.
I've lost my benefits because the government decided that, I'm fit for work to do more than 15 hours. I did try to increase to longer days, and it didn't work at all. Now I do 12 and a half hours. I do find sometimes that it's tiring, but I like to get out and about and meet people.
It could be said that there are still negative connotations. It can even be said that they are ashamed. Jane gives some insight into how she feels.
I wouldn't want to sit at home and do nothing and watch television, which perhaps people think that people who have been on welfare, that's all they want to do, but I couldn't do that.
Due to Jane's struggle with health as she needed help, Jane turned to the food bank but found this was a difficult experience.
It was hard because you feel embarrassed, you feel that it's not a good thing to go to a food bank, although they're there for a reason to help people like me. You get 3 days' supply of food and perhaps a bit more of, depending on how much you need. They'll supply you with nappies, shampoo, anything that daily life you need. Toilet roll, horrible if you run out of toilet roll.
Benefit applicants do not always get what they need, as cuts in benefits are to blame for 65% of referrals. The delay in benefits caused the public to seek for help elsewhere. Jane lost her benefits and had to seek help at a food bank.
It's not easy, and anybody that thinks it is, well, they don't know what they're talking about.
People, such as Jane, that experience the trauma of going without food rely on the thousands that donate food. The Trussell Trust relies on the goodwill of the public to donate. This food goes to the food bank warehouse where it is stored and distributed to the centres. This is Kevin. He is a warehouse manager at Medway Food Banks. His role is to sift through donations brought in by the public. He prepares and organises with volunteers the food which is then sent to the centres.
The donation system works through the goodwill of people in Medway. They donate food to Medway Food Bank through some of our centres and some of our supporting churches, and many companies and schools donate food either on a regular or a one-off basis.
But donations alone are not enough. Without the support of volunteers, the system would not work. There are 2 types of volunteers, those that work in the warehouse and help Kevin.
Food bank runs purely by the goodwill and hard work and dedication of volunteers. We have up to a dozen volunteers at the warehouse, and they work very hard from day to day, weighing in all the food, sorting it, categorising it, and then also shipping out orders of food to our 6 centres across Medway towns.
And the ones that work in the centres like Graham. He is a volunteer at the Salvation Army, which is one of the 6 centres. His role is to meet and support people during a difficult time.
I wanted to give back something of my time to people who are less fortunate than me. There's so much need in society these days, and I think food bank is one of the most fulfilling things a person can do.
The centres receive food from the warehouse on a regular basis.
We receive all the food from the food bank warehouse. The order's sent out on a Monday, and we receive the food back on a Thursday, and then it's unpacked ready for Friday.
Food bank at the Salvation Army opens Mondays and Fridays. Volunteers such as Graham meet the clients at the food bank every week.
We would then make up a food parcel for them by a form. They come in with a red voucher, and that would indicate where they've come from.
Food parcels are handed to clients from the food banks. The centres have a facility for the clients to have drinks. Jane, a former client of the food bank, now volunteers to help out.
I help out in the cafeteria side. It was very welcoming. I go up there after work and just help out in the cafeteria area, cups and teas and coffees and cake. It's all free, but the people can give a donation that goes towards the food bank. It's a lovely atmosphere, it's a nice cafe.
Although the help that the food banks offer is limited, the food bank clients are being accused of cheating the system and scamming resources from others in need.
A criticism that might often be levelled at us is that if we give people food, then they spend whatever money they do have on drugs or alcohol.
Unfortunately, the stories which get the headlines often reinforce this view. In fact, they criticise food banks themselves. Negative press has been directed to the food banks regarding their check-in process of the clients that come into the food bank.
There's a checking process to ensure that they are indeed in need. That process is carried out by professionals in the community. So they may be doctors, they might be social workers, they might be a community liaison officer in a school, there might be a children's centre.
They do check, and they're very, very careful. They will check your identity. It could be a letter from the social services or a letter from council tax, anything like that that shows your address and shows your name.
There will always be those who know how to cheat the system, but does this mean that people who are in need should be deprived of the services and associated with those abusing the system? Judging by the increase in demand, the need is still present.
It could get better, as in less people need us, and that's ultimately we'd love to not be needed. But it could easily go the other way too. The demand could increase. What I'm hearing politically is they're still cutting back. And so if those cuts were to affect people at the level that we're often dealing with even more deeply and making that group even bigger, then the demand for food bank will continue to grow.